Hey guys, this is Kevin from JazTime.com, and today we'll be comparing the Rolex GMT-Master II over here on my left, reference number 116710. We'll be comparing it to the Rolex Submariner here on my right, reference number 116610LV. Okay, I do want to mention, even though this Rolex is the green color, we'll be comparing mainly the functionality of the Submariner itself and not the limited edition ideal of it. Okay, so we'll be comparing the prices, the dial, the case, the crown, the bracelet, the strap, and we'll talk about the movement towards the end of the video. Okay, so the price for the GMT-Master II, you can get it at a Rolex retailer for $8,450, or you can get it at JazTime for $7,300, or for as low as $7,300. Okay, for the Submariner, specifically for the black version, it retails for $8,450 at a Rolex retailer, but you can get it for as low as $7,800 at JazTime.com. Okay, so let's go ahead and compare these the dials now. With the GMT, we have this addition of the GMT hand here on the bottom left, colored with the green, as you can see there. Additionally, the GMT name on the 6 o'clock position is also colored in that green as well. For specifically the colorings, the color choices of each watch, for the GMT, we have the black, we also have the two-tone, the yellow gold, and the steel. It also comes in a half black, half blue as well, as it's nicknamed the Batman. For the Submariner, we have the green, as you see here. We also have the standard black. In addition, we have a blue two-tone, which is that yellow gold, half yellow gold, half steel, or Rolls Or, as Rolex likes to call it. And it has a blue face and blue bezel as well. Okay. But besides that, the dial has a maxi dial, very similar, just 30% larger hour markers. As you can see from the circular markers are fashioned in 18 karat white gold. We have the date located at the 3 o'clock position with the Cyclops lens that sits on top of that crystal for easier viewing and magnification of that date. The hands are larger as well, and they are luminous. All of this is luminous for up to 8 hours. So this will keep its glow in the dark for 8 hours. Okay, so let's move on to the bezel now. For the bezel, they both have a ceramic bezel, which is very durable, very scratch resistant, and that color that you actually see on the bezel itself, it's baked on, so that black and this green is baked on, and it will keep that color pretty much for its lifetime. So it's something to keep in mind. Very nice off of both. The main difference is the usage of the bezel. On the left here, the GMT, we have a 24-hour cycle graduated all around, while the Submariner, we have a 60-minute cycle graduated all around. And they serve for two different functions. I'm going to go ahead and show you the GMTs first. So with the GMTs, you can track an additional time zone using the bezel itself. As you can see here, at the bottom left is the GMT hand, and you would just have to adjust the GMT hand as shown. Okay, so let me use an example. So let's just say it's 12 o'clock midnight in London right now. Okay, so you set the time to 12 o'clock. Let's say maybe 12:10. There's 12:10. Okay, you would press the crown back in, pull it out once, and that allows you to use the quick hour jump. As you can see there, it very easily, very quickly jumps to each hour. And let's just say it's 12 o'clock in London, you want to track the time in Philippines. You would just go 7 hours ahead. So you just move that hour 7 hours ahead. Very simple, very easy to use. Okay, and always make sure, press the crown back in. And now you're tracking 2 hours, two different time zones. We still have the GMT hand at the 12 o'clock position, so you know at the time in London as that progresses, while the main Mercedes hands here, the hour hand, is at the 7 o'clock position that allows you to track the Philippines time as well. Okay. Okay. Also, the bezel is bidirectional rather. So you can see here, it can move towards the left, move towards the right, and that's to help with that tracking of that time zone. Okay. For the Submariner, we have that 60-minute graduated bezel with the numbers platinum dusted. And the function for this is to track for elapsed time. Specifically for the Submariner, it is a diver's watch, it's more of a sports watch. And it is a unidirectional bezel. As you can see, as I turn it to the left, as it will only go to the left. You can see if I try to turn it to the right, it won't budge. And that's because you want to track for elapsed time. Now let's just say you're a diver, you're going into the water, and you want to track how much oxygen you have left in your tank. So let's just say you had 50 minutes of oxygen, 10 minutes pass, so you start from the 10 minutes. As you can see there, the minute hand hits that 10 minutes. Now you know once the time elapses to that 50 mark, you would know how close you are to running out of oxygen. They made it unidirectional because you don't want to accidentally turn the bezel back again and then mistrack the time of your oxygen tank, and obviously that's very bad. I don't need to explain that. Okay, but not only that, you can also use it for everyday use, such as tracking your mile times. Like just say you can start from the minute hand, and you can track how fast it takes you to run a mile, or you can track how long it takes you to do a business meeting, so you can be a little more efficient the next time around. So very easy to use function. This is very simplistic as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the case now. With the case, we both have the similar size cases. They're both 40 millimeter cases, 40 millimeter in diameter cases. That's from my index finger here to my thumb, and that's going to be for both watches. They both have the super case, which means that the lugs are a little bit larger, along with the crown guard lugs are a little bit wider as well. Gives the watch overall a more beefier look to it, which is pretty nice. So I'd highly recommend either of these watches to those with larger wrists, as it will sit very nicely on the wrist with that beefier look. So this is a side profile of the watch. As you can see, they both pretty much have almost the same amount of width to them. They both will sit under a suit cuff very nicely, slip under very nicely. It won't catch it or stretch out those suit cuffs or dress cuffs. Has a nice high polish on the side for a little bit more shine to the watch. On the other side of it, as you can see here, same thing. We have the high polish along the side, the crown guards nicely protecting that crown. Crowns are about the same size as to the width as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the bracelets now. Okay, both these watches are using the newer style heavy bracelet, which means that the links in the center are solid as to prevent stretching of the bracelet over time. But the main difference here is that the GMT has a high polish down the center of the oyster band. As you can see there, it has a nice shine to it, more reflectiveness to it. While the Submariner here on my right, it's just a nice brush steel, satin finished, and just keeps that nice uniform look throughout. Okay. However, they are both made out of the 904L steel, which is Rolex's in-house steel, which is a little more durable than the industry standard 316L steel, and it has more shine to it as well. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the class now. With the class, you can see that the GMTs is a little bit smaller than the Submariners, and the reason for that is actually located inside the class itself. So let me go ahead and show you the GMTs first. So with both class, they both have the same function of the safety folding oyster class. As you can see here, the safety is off now. This is the oyster, pops out very easily, very nicely. It also has a high polished blades with the Rolex name embossed on there. One thing I want to mention is that this high polish in the class itself is actually new to 2016. The older versions of these watches have a kind of sand blasted class, so that's something to keep in mind. Okay, but the real difference here is I want to mention is the back here. As you can see, the class is smaller in the GMT, and the reason for that is because, as you can see here, I can actually pop out the bracelet, and I can adjust for a small little adjustment of 5 millimeter increment, 5 millimeters inwards or outwards, and that gives a little more breathing room to the wrist on hotter days. It's called a comfort extension link, and that's kind of a useful thing. Like I said, when it's a hotter day, it gives more breathability to your wrist. Colder, obviously, you want to make it a little bit tighter so it's not flopping around everywhere. Okay, now let me move on to the Submariner's class. Okay, so I have the Submariner in my hand now. Once again, pop with that safety, pop with that oyster. Same thing, high polish on the clasp plate itself, Rolex name engraved there. But one thing that the Submariner trumps over the GMT is this back clasp right here. As you can see, I popped out the bracelet a little bit. Give me 1 second here. Okay, I popped out the bracelet a little bit, and you can actually adjust the bracelet in 2 millimeter increments for up to 20 millimeters. That's an insane amount of adjustment. As you can see here, that's how it looks fully out all the way. And let me show you how it looks all the way in. So why is this important? Well, they made this watch with divers in mind, and divers, obviously, they wear wetsuits when they go into water. So they wanted to allow for the adjustment of the thickness of the wetsuit so you can adjust that bracelet, to make up for it. However, besides that, for everyday use, like I said with the GMT, you can adjust the bracelet. Let's just say it's a hot day. Pop it out, adjust, a little 6 millimeters of increments right there. Bam. Now your wrist has a little more breathing room, not constrained by the watch. But let's just say you're even giving it as a gift. Someone with larger hands, bam, pop it all the way out, and there you go. Give it to them as a gift like that. Very nice, as you wouldn't have to take off a link or add a link or go to a jeweler to get that link put on, taken off, and pay an additional $100 to $150 just to get that installed. And it's just really, really nice overall. Actually, I kind of messed up on the price. There's actually only $10 to get the link installed, but the link itself is $100 to $150. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the movements now. So I'm going to start with the GMTs. The GMT has a nice simple oyster case back. The movement that it runs on is I believe a 3186 movement, which is a GMT movement, which allowed for that GMT hand to exist on this watch, while also giving you the ability for the rapid setting of the hour hand that is shown with the GMT function earlier. And it has a 48-hour power reserve. How does that compare to the Submariner's movement though? The Submariner also has that simple oyster case backing. But the movement of the Submariner is a 3135, which is one of Rolex's most time-tested, durable movements. Over 15 years of use for the 3135 allows for the simple functions of hours, seconds, minutes, and instantaneous changing of the date. Okay, so it's a very basic, very simple movement, and they both pretty much have the same functions. It's just that the GMT movement has that a GMT hand added to it. Otherwise, they both have the same power reserve and pretty much the same components. They both have the paramagnetic blue parachrome hairspring, and they're also bidirectional self-winding via a perpetual rotor. Okay, so let me go ahead and actually show you these watches on my wrist now. So once again, pop open safety, pop open that folding. Okay, folds in, safety on. Let me go ahead and show you that. Look at that. GMT is very nice, very basic watch, has that kind of Submariner look while adding a little bit to it with that GMT hand. The green definitely pops. Once again, the functions of the GMT are a little bit different from the Submariner, as if you travel around a lot, go east to west, west to east, go around the world, you can track a different time zone, and that can be incredibly useful. Okay, and the high polish kind of takes away from the fact that it could be a sports watch, as the high polish is scuffed a little bit more easier than the satin finish, but overall adds very nice shine and makes it very beautiful. Okay, let me go ahead and get the Submariner on my wrist now and give you guys a look at that. Okay, pops open. Okay, pops in, bam. So here is the Submariner now. As you can see, very nice, very beautiful. Like I said, it is a diver's watch. Is one of Rolex's main staples of a watch. That Submariner has instantaneous changing of the date. Very simple, very easy to use. That bezel, very nice for tracking elapsed time. But the one thing I want to mention that really sets Submariner apart is that back of the class, that glide lock extension system is just absolutely nice to have. Very comfortable, very good ease of life there. Okay, so let me try to get these watches side by side here. Okay, so if you have any questions about these watches or comments about the watch, leave a comment below. If you like any of the model, if you like these models and you want to purchase these models or any other similar models for the lowest possible price, check out our website at JazTime.com. We have the lowest prices guaranteed. We offer free shipping and a 1-year warranty. Okay, and if you like our videos and you want to see more, just go ahead and hit the subscribe button below. We have lots more to show you guys. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you guys soon.